Hi there, I'm Leo. Welcome to the channel. Today we'll be building a rules generator for Cursor. If you do not know what these rules are, they are basically context that you provide to the LLMs inside of Cursor that allows us to create better and more customizable code based on your own project. I can define a generic rule such as always use TypeScript. But if I set this up as a general use, we'll have issues whenever I try to build any Python script. So ideally, we'd add rules based on the project. The way to do that is clicking the Add Rule button, type in something like my NaN rule. Then this .mdc file is generated inside of Cursor/rules, which you can insert a description. You can add which directory you want it to be applied to, as well as the rules. You also can place a .cursor rules inside of your project and head over to cursor.directory, find whatever matches most with your project. So something like if you're designing a Next.js project, you can head over here and grab any of these that were created by the community. Grab that, hit copy, place that right back inside of your .cursor rules, and the AI would have a pretty good context of what it's working with. But each project has its specific needs and therefore needs specific rules. Probably because of that, the cursor.directory now uses the package.json. So you can copy your package.json, head over to the generate section from cursor.directory, hit that down, and it will try to generate all the rules for you based on those packages. So right here you have TypeScript best practices. You would copy that down, head over to the file, preferences, cursor settings, rules, add project rule, place that up there, hit enter, grab the description. The globs are placed in here. Grab the rules. And finally, place it in there. So while this is a temporary solution, it's kind of annoying to do that all manually. So my idea was to have a script at which when I run it, it goes over to the package.json, grabs every single package, uses those packages to hit this main endpoint, which we will also be creating. This main endpoint then searches each and every one of those packages inside of the database to see if it already has a rule in there for that specific package. If it does not have that rule, it searches for the documentation inside of that specific package, sends it over to an AI, which will generate the rule, store it inside of the database, and that will then be available for the endpoint, which will finally create the .mdc file and add them all to the .cursor/rules, all done with a single execution of this particular script. So while I was thinking through this, I had to consider how would Firecrawl exactly do this. Heading over to their documentations, they do have a search endpoint at which I can specify a string of Tailwind documentation, send that request, and it comes back with this specific URL. With that URL, I can go over to the playground inside Firecrawl's dashboard, erase this URL, and I'll place that in there in this specific way because now I can find and extract information across the entire website, not just this single URL. I have this prompt where I specify that I need general tips for using the documentation so that I can provide better context for the AI. Then I give it an example of what I expect. I want a schema of category and instructions. And now let's see how it does. Nice, so this was generated. Let's compare with the Cursor directory to see what it would have created. Use utility first approach for consistent and maintainable styles. Let's see if we're somewhere near that. So use dynamic utility classes carefully to ensure Tailwind can purge. Yeah, I would say it's even better because it has more specific details to produce these specific instructions. Yeah, so that's basically it. Let's follow these steps. We want to build this as fast as possible and still provide value, because I believe I would use this myself. Yesterday, I wanted to create some custom nodes for NaN, and it would really help to have the cursor rules specific for NaN inside of the project. I built that on my own. You just get a better performance out of Cursor by using it. So creating this seamlessly sounds like a good idea. Let's create the database inside of EasyPanel. With that done, let's head over to the second step, which is setting up the Node.js project with Firecrawl, Prisma, and LangChain. I suppose that maybe I didn't need to first set up a project and then build on top of that project and specify what I want to build with that project. Since it's a thinking model, it would think through and know what to build. Okay, now it's executing yarn dev. Wow, I love this. I love the fact that it tests the application. That is so cool. Okay, except that's all I wanted. Let's end this right now. This is also done. Now I have to actually prompt the entire idea for it to build everything I need. And hopefully we'll get this in a single shot. From that point on, it was just a series of unfortunate events. The latest version of Cursor launched today was being flagged as ransomware, so I had to roll back to the previous build. Out of all the possible days, OpenAI suddenly started throwing a 429 error on API calls, which really confused Claude 3.7 Sonnet's reasoning model. The only real issue I had with this LLM was when it decided to overcomplicate something that should have been really simple. But overall, I'd say that out of the 2 hours it took to get this done, 80% of it was just the composer doing its job. It got to a point where I stopped recording and just came back to the computer every 10 minutes to prompt minor adjustments. But yes, now it's done. Let me clear out this terminal. So this is how it works. If I just run this JavaScript code, it will go inside of my package.json, fetch every single package. Of those packages, it will go inside of my database, see if there's some rules in there. If there aren't, then it will use Firecrawl to then scrape for that data, just as I've shown back in ScullyDraw. To make it fancy and also to allow people to build rules that aren't designed specifically for packages, we can insert something like Chrome extension. And I've also added a way to fetch for the documentation by browsing, but also to look inside of the Cursor directory. This way it will also have access to all these prior rules. Okay, so it seems like it fetched everything, and now we have a Chrome extension rule over here. So as you can see, now we have a specific set of rules designed for the Chrome extension. And Firecrawl did make this easier. If I weren't using Firecrawl, I would have to do a lot of easy things, but when you group all those easy things up, it becomes a struggle to just set everything up. I would have to implement some kind of browsing feature, then map, then crawl everything, scrape all the websites, get all the markdown, place them together, send it over to an AI, maybe use LangChain to output a specific structure. In here, I just do everything in this single prompting, and the schema is defined down here. Then I receive everything already done just to be inserted inside of my database, at which has a package rules. These package rules has the package names, description, and all of their categories. Because if I erase my MDC file from this project and go to another project, have the same database and use this command, it will just go over to my database, fetch for that data, and produce it right over here. We won't have to spend anything to scrape this data again. I have already posted this repository. It will be public by the time you're watching this. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section. But if you do need further help setting this up, please consider creating a post over at the AI Forge community. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then.